This is Little Shell's Adventure. No, wait. This is Little Shell's Adventure. Hold on. This is Little Shell's Adventure. Little Shell's Adventure? So, I can explain. Everyone has crazy ambitions when they're young. At least, I'm told they do. Since elementary school, Dagan and I had dreams of starting a video game studio and making games together. However, as many of you know, making games is really hard and stuff. Especially for an 8-year-old who just figured out how to read Diver Wimpy Kid. But that wasn't gonna stop us. We tried all kinds of things to learn game dev, and then decided to just draw game ideas on paper and put it off. This all changed in 2016 with Little Shell's Adventure. Dagan, the other member of Plasma Studios, had surprised me and learned how to make simple games in GDevelop, and he put together this short top-down adventure game about a turtle who pretty much just walked. But hey, that was a major accomplishment for us. The game was short, but extended slightly by the character's slow walking speed. After building out a couple of areas to explore and walk around, we finished it and started this YouTube channel to release an epic trailer. It may be a little corny, but I still tear up watching it, even though this is really nothing special when compared to what we're making now. It was the first time our game development dream had started to feel attainable. Oh, but you thought Little Shell's Adventure ended there? Ha, why else would I be making this video? We then went on to make Little Shell's Adventure 2, a few months later. That's right. While Pikmin fans had to wait over 10 years for their next game, we were cranking out these things left and right. The idea for this game was to be a 5-chapter game, and in the second one you end up in the city. There were a lot of major improvements from the first game, some cool particles, elevator scenes, and traffic. Although the traffic starts to break if you stand there too long. After the second game, Little Shell's Adventure got pushed on the shelf for a while. We kept getting better at working on more advanced projects. Well, more advanced might be an overstatement. But essentially, we kind of forgot about it for a while. However, that all changed in 2020. You see, for our first couple of years as game developers, we never really tried to code our games. We always used block coding editors like GDevelop, Construct 2, and GameMaker. I knew that if we wanted to start making our dream games, we would eventually have to learn how to code games. For those who don't know, block editors weren't as good as they are now back in the day. You could probably make a full game in them now. But coding games is hard, and well, let's just say I'm not a natural at it. I started using my abundance of free time during the pandemic to mess around in Unity, and one thing led to another. I ended up trying to recreate Little Shell's Adventure. We decided to make the world feel a little livelier than the first. You start off on a similar looking beach, and then explore an RPG style world. I also tried to make more threats to the player than the first game had. I made the enemies plastic straws, the turtle's natural enemy. While I was starting to pick up coding a lot more, I hadn't learned much of good game design principles. I ended up adding a really abrasive dash with an even more abrasive camera shake. This didn't really jive well with the cute calm beach aesthetic the game had. However, this version of the game didn't last for very long. After a few months of development, I got an idea. An awful idea. A wonderfully awful. So I started the project from scratch, again, but it was pretty much a completely different game. Rather than being a top-down game focusing on walking and reading, I gave Little Shell a sword and made it a beach-themed adventure game about a turtle on a quest to commit stabby stab to crab dudes. You see, growing up I always loved The Legend of Zelda, and it sounded so fun to make a game like that. For that reason I decided to pivot and change Little Shell's Adventure up a little bit. The plan for the game was to follow a similar path as the original. You start on the beach and make your way towards your house, and from there end up in the city of Farlington. But the scope ended up creeping quite a bit. I ended up adding wave rooms, dungeons, and boss fights. I kept adding to the game until I eventually decided, well, I put this much work into it, I might as well go all in and make it a fully fledged Steam game. There were a couple of important things that needed to change for it to feel ready for Steam, and the biggest was to revamp the art. I ended up changing all the art to match the color palette a few months before launch. This turned the game into the Little Shell's Adventure that people have come to know and love. Except this guy. He chose to side with the crab dudes, and he will pay his price. Anyways, after a year of hard work, we finally put the game on Steam, and then I let Little Shell's Adventure go, feeling accomplished, knowing that we had finally done justice to the original idea of Little Shell's Adventure. Well, some of you can already guess that's not the end of the story. As expected, I've grown substantially as a programmer since then, and I've noticed a couple flaws with the original. Most of the systems are barely held together and can be broken by anyone who tries. Also, there's lots of small things that could have been improved to make the game so much better. For this reason, I decided to remake the game. And the good news is, we're already a couple weeks into it, and we're getting pretty far along. Some of you may not think it is very wise to be working on this project again when there's so many other things we could be doing, but I feel like it's good to have a reputation for quality, since a lot of people who play one of our games end up checking a lot of them out. So, along with trying to make the game more professional, I also want to improve its appearance. I got my friend Ro to make some Steam art for me, and it turned out amazing. If anyone's looking for a better Steam page, I would highly recommend her, and I have a contact link in the description. Anyways, here we are, Little Shell's Adventure for the 5th time, and I'm like 90% sure it's the final time. It's already so much better than the last version we've made, and don't worry, This will be a free update for anyone who's already bought the game. Another important thing to keep in mind is that we were still working on and updating Throwbro, our last game, so don't worry about that. I told all my friends that this game took me a year to make because I had no vision before, but if I were doing it again, I could do it in less than 6 months. So I guess it's time to put my money where my mouth is. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for updates while we finish up this project for good. Bye-bye!